Hello YouTube and fellow Star Wars collectors! On this episode of Toys Are the Way, we'll be taking a look at a character from the fifth wave of vintage collection figures for 2024, Osha Aniseya from the Acolyte. So once again, TVC fans are starting to see a number of pre-orders from months ago make their way into our collection room. And here we have an all-new from the ground up figure from recent media making its way into our collections in a timely manner just after a show has ended, which is always pretty cool in my opinion. Yes, Hasbro should maybe do a better job about getting these out while the show is on, but for the most part, this is pretty decent in my opinion. But with all that said and done, let's take a closer look at the packaging and figure. Taking a look at our vintage style packaging, we have the Star Wars and Acolyte logo followed by Osha Aniseya on a green name pill color. We have a fantastic image of the character here, looking pretty good in that sci-fi space mechanic outfit with the Kenner logo down below. And then we have this all new from the ground up figure with a number of accessories looking really good in that bubble. On the back, she is VC 327 in the line, Osha Aniseya, and we have a small description of the character, followed by the Vintage Collection logo, and additional images of the card and figure. So it's really nice to see some representation for TVC and new media shortly after a show has aired. And once again, it's also really nice to see a brand new figure, all new from the ground up, with a bunch of different accessories in this bubble that didn't have to be like a deluxe or something like that. And if you are a big fan of the Acolyte series, this will make an excellent addition to your carded collection. Taking a look at Osha out of the packaging, I think Hasbro's done a decent job on this face portrait. It resembles the actress quite well, and especially from certain angles, so like this side profile right there I think looks really good. Again, right here, pretty decent. Straight on kind of loses it a little bit, and then, the side profile on the other side is pretty good as well. So for the most part, looking pretty good. The hair has a lot of detail. It is of a soft plastic, so, it won't really hinder any articulation or anything, and it's got decent detail for being, a soft plastic piece. But I will say they should have maybe added a little bit more paint application in there, possibly another color, to kind of accent it and really bring it to life. But for the most part, this is looking pretty decent in my opinion. Taking a look at the articulation, Osha has everything that we want to see on our vintage collection figures. The new style barbell hips, which is fantastic, a swivel at the thigh, ball jointed everything, and rocker ankles. So you'll have no problem putting this figure into a number of different poses. The only downside here is that we do not have a hinge at the wrist, unfortunately. It is just a swivel, which is a bit unfortunate, and I know it's a little challenging to, get these smaller hinges on figures that have smaller wrists, but I don't know, I really want Hasbro to kind of work on that and see what they can do to just bring that level of articulation to all of their figures regardless. But moving on, we've got some pretty decent accessories here. We've got her little droid Pip, which is the size of a Game Boy Pocket, and also, fits in this little carrier right here pretty well, but I will say that it's not as snug as I would like. It will fall out at certain angles, or if you kind of knock it a little bit. Right now it's kind of locked in there, so that is good. And then we have her blaster, which is a bit of a frustrating point for me when it comes to this release. So the blaster is very tiny, which is, to be expected, but Hasbro did not sculpt the best trigger finger here in my opinion. It's a very subtle one. It's only like a very small cut on her hand that allows her to have a trigger finger that you can then put on this blaster. And I just had a little bit of trouble getting that in there and, getting it to stay in place. Additionally, the lack of a hinge wrist makes this a bit awkward for me. So posing this figure, it just doesn't look very natural. She looks kind of stiff. You need that hinge at the wrist to angle the blaster down and up and just get that very convincing. Because if I were to raise her arm quite a bit, the blaster is kind of always going to be pointed up just because of the way this is sculpted, which is just not, it's just not fun. I would like Hasbro to really work on that hinge wrist stuff and get those on female characters or any of these characters that just don't have, larger wrists. It's something that I think is very important. Yes, we have a lot of upper articulation that'll help, sell some of that posing, but I don't know. I think something needs to be done there. And then, we have the holster, which does hold that blaster in place pretty well. It's a very interesting design. You put the blaster in here and then put this loop over the handle of the blaster and it will stay in place. All of this stuff is made of very soft plastic and you're able to, obviously remove it. Her backpack is a pretty cool accessory in my opinion. It's also soft plastic. You can remove that, as well as her vest. So that's pretty cool. I am actually going to pick up a few of these figures just because I think the design is really neat and I want to use these for customs. And personally, I kind of think, some of this tooling could maybe get us a Pelimato in the future. Very similar lower legs and boots, so maybe that's something Hasbro's thinking about, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I think many collectors would agree it's amazing to have a new media figure in hand shortly after a show has aired. The Acolyte was a roller coaster of emotions within the Star Wars community, and whether you hate it or love it, or even were just okay with it, this action figure release is another solid addition to the Vintage Collection lineup. This all-new from the ground up figure does not disappoint when it comes to articulation, sculpting, and accessories. The new style barbell hips and lower leg articulation are absolutely delightful to pose, but the lack of hinge wrist is a big downgrade when posing Osha with the blaster, and minimal articulation at the waist leaves this action figure a little less action-packed in my opinion. But regardless, Osha is an excellent start to our Acolyte series figure offerings. I hope you've enjoyed this video and taking a look at this recent addition to the Vintage Collection, Osha Aniseya from the Acolyte. Feel free to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. It really helps and is always greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone, and may the Force be with you.